Okay, so when you hear the word argument, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably winning, right? But what if I told you that winning isn't always what you think it is? We're about to break down a whole hierarchy of strategies, from the surprisingly simple to the, well, downright dirty.
So let me ask you, straight up, how do you win an argument? Seriously, think about it for a second. What's your go-to move? Do you come armed with a bunch of facts? Do you just try to outlast the other person? Whatever it is, just keep that in mind as we go.
Okay, you got your answer in your head? Well, what if the real best answer is this? The easiest way to win is to just not have the argument at all. And the second easiest, to just lose it on purpose. I know that sounds completely backward, but this is exactly where our strategic guide begins, by totally flipping the script on what it even means to win.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at winning by not even arguing. Then we'll get into the Socratic method. After that, we'll dive into the dark arts of debate. Then we'll cover the single hardest way to win. And finally, we're going to wrap it all up by asking what winning really is in the first place. All right, section 1, winning by not arguing. This whole section is about being practical instead of just letting your pride take over. It's all about picking your battles and realizing that sometimes the absolute smartest move is to not even play the game. Mark Twain supposedly said this, and, it's pretty solid advice for bailing on a pointless fight. The thing is, that's great, but there's a huge problem, right? In pretty much every argument, both people think the other one is the stupid one. So who's supposed to be the one to walk away? So that really leaves us with two main strategies here. The first is obvious, just avoid the argument altogether. But the second one, that's where it gets really interesting. You can strategically concede. You can choose to lose the argument so you can win something much bigger. Okay, check out this example. It frames the whole thing perfectly. Let's say your roommate accuses you of taking 17 cookies, but you know you only took 16. You could dig in your heels and argue about that one cookie just to prove you're right, or you could think bigger. What's the real outcome you want? Probably to keep the peace and to get more cookies later. So you just say, oops, my bad, sorry about the 17th cookie. You lose the tiny battle, but you win the actual war. And that idea of focusing on the outcome, not just the facts, is the perfect setup for our next section, the Socratic method. This is where we shift from avoiding the fight to engaging with it, but the goal here is understanding, not just a knockout punch. This was at the heart of how Socrates saw the world. See, Socrates walked into arguments with this totally different mindset. It wasn't about proving he was the smartest guy in the room. He genuinely approached disagreements wanting to learn something, admitting he didn't have all the answers. And the main tool he used to do this is something called Socratic questioning. It's all about asking these deep, disciplined questions to really get to the bottom of an idea. But here's the thing, and this is super important. You can use this tool in two very different ways.
On one hand, you have the constructive way. You ask questions because you actually want to understand where they're coming from, you look for little bits of common ground, and you try to build on them. And then you have the annoying way. This is where you just hit them with a tidal wave of questions designed to frustrate them, confuse them, and make them contradict themselves. It's less about understanding and more about just tripping them up.
You know, that annoying way we just talked about? That's basically our VIP pass into the next section, the dark arts of debate. This is where we just toss ethics right out the window and focus on one thing and one thing only: winning, no matter what it takes. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer actually put together a whole list of these shady tactics. Now, he wasn't telling people to do this stuff. He was basically blowing the whistle on all the dishonest tricks people use. And we're about to blast through a whole bunch of them. Get ready, because you're definitely going to recognize some of these.
All right, here we go. You can blow their argument way out of proportion. You can generalize what they say so it's easier to attack. Ask totally random questions to find one little contradiction. Just state things as facts without any proof. Get them angry, attack them personally, or just bounce from topic to keep them off balance. But wait, there's more. You can frame your question so they're forced to say no. Use some weird metaphor that doesn't mean anything but sounds deep. When you're clearly losing, just declare that you won on the most important points. Use ridiculous examples to make their point sound silly. The second you're about to be proven wrong, just change your argument. And, of course, the classic, just interrupt them. Constantly.
Oh, we are not done yet. You can twist their words with that classic phrase, so basically what you're saying is, You can find one tiny exception to their rule and use it to dismiss the whole thing. If they ask you for proof, demand they prove a negative, which is impossible. Appeal to the crowd's emotions, not their brains. The moment they score a good point, change the subject. Or hey, just make up a quote from an expert. Why not? And to finish it off, you can dodge a tough question by just saying, "Oh, I'm not an expert on that." Or try to link their idea to something everyone already hates. There's the all-time great. Well, that works in theory, but not in the real world. Use a bunch of jargon to make them feel dumb. And finally, just act super confident, even if your argument is falling apart. It's just a whole arsenal of deception, really.
So, after swimming through all that chaos, you might be asking if there's an honest way to do this. And yeah, there is, but it's also the hardest way. And let's be real, it's often the most boring way to win, using actual logic.
I mean, look how simple the structure is. It's just 3 steps. 1, you make a clear statement, your claim. 2, you back it up with evidence, like actual facts. And 3, this is the part everybody skips, you explain your reasoning. You connect the dots and show exactly how your evidence proves your claim. That's it. No tricks.
But, when someone doesn't have that solid reasoning, what do? They hide behind a giant wall of complicated words. They'll say something like this. They're basically hoping you'll be so confused by all the big words that you'll just assume they're smart and agree with them. Okay, so this brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important section of all. We've seen all these different ways to argue, from dodging the fight, to using logic, to playing dirty. So we have to come back to that first question. What does winning even mean?
And here it is, the big takeaway. Winning isn't about being right. It's not about getting the last word in. It is about achieving your desired outcome. Sometimes your goal is to find the truth, and for that, you need logic. But sometimes your goal is just to keep the peace, and for that, you might need to gracefully lose. Figuring out what you really want is always the first step.
So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. The next time you find yourself about to step into an argument, just pause. Ask yourself, what's my actual goal here? Is it to prove a point? Is it to learn something? To maintain a relationship? Your answer to that question will tell you exactly which strategy you should use.